Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. Midweek is tonight at 7:30, and the code is in the newsletter. And if you need it, please get in touch with me. And do get in touch as well if you're needing anything at all. We want to do our best to help you. We're reading from Mark 9, and beginning at verse 14. When they came to the disciples, this is Jesus, Peter, James, and John, who have come down from the mountain. When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, the scribes arguing with them. And immediately all the crowd, when they saw him, were greatly amazed and ran up to him and greeted him. And he asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" And someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I brought my son to you, for he has a spirit that makes him mute. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples to cast it out, and they were not able." And he answered them, "O faithless generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him to me." And they brought the boy to him, and when the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, "How long has this been happening to him?" And he said, "From childhood. And has often cast him into the fire and into water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you can. All things are possible for one who believes." Immediately the father of the child cried out and said, "I believe, help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." And after crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, "He's dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. When he had entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could we not cast it out?" And he said to them, "This kind cannot be driven out by anything but prayer." Over these weeks, over these months, I hope we've discovered the positive side of social media. One of the positive sides of social media is being able to come on and share daily messages like this, being able to encourage one another, being able to share little things that even make one another laugh. Those are the positive things about social media. There are a lot of negative things about social media, and one of them is the ease with which arguments and controversies can start out of apparently nothing. People can argue about pretty much anything on social media. We can even walk out of a time of worship or leave this devotion, if you're watching on your phone, and go to the very next post, and it's an argument about something, about politics or religion or football or something. And the problem with a lot of these arguments on social media is that they quickly turn very confrontational and sometimes abusive towards one another. Jesus, Peter, James, and John come down from the mountain from an incredible experience as the disciples have witnessed Jesus' transfiguration. And they come down from this amazing, if you like, worship experience, and they come back to earth with a bump, because they come right into the middle of an argument between Jesus' disciples and the scribes. And all around, a demon-possessed boy and a distraught father. This is what the argument seems to be focused around. But the problem is that the boy and his father seem to have been left to one side, and the argument has assumed more importance than the actual need, the actual problem. Both sides in the argument have their priorities wrong. The scribes, presumably, are looking for ways, as they always did, to attack Jesus and his disciples. The disciples allow themselves to be drawn into the debate instead of focusing on the need in front of them and on the need to pray. They fail to recognize what's really important. They fail to recognize either the desperate need of the boy or the father's young and fragile faith. Jesus, though, doesn't have time for the nonsense argument. He goes straight to the heart of things. He goes to the Father. And the Father's tiny amount of faith, even tinged with so much fear and anxiety and worry, that tiny mustard seed of faith is enough. Jesus hears and he responds. And that's the same with us. Jesus hears and responds our desperate pleas in desperate circumstances, in the midst of all that we have to endure, in the midst of all that we go through. Jesus hears us. He focuses in on the issues. He focuses in on our hearts, on our lives, on the needs of that moment. He knows. He understands. And when we come to him with fractured faith, with limited faith, with faith that hardly even feels like faith sometimes, he hears and he involves himself in our lives. So this morning, let me say to you, even if you are struggling with faith, even if you're struggling to put one foot in front of the other in your walk with Jesus, in your unbelief, believe. Allow that tiny seed of faith to be placed in him, because he will prove faithful and he will be to you all that you need today and every day. God bless.